What's good, self-directed investors? I hope you're all doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan, and I'm the mind behind Make More Capital, and today we're going to cover the big news of Aphria and Tilray combining to create the biggest cannabis company as of revenues to date. So before we jump in, make sure you leave a thumbs up if you get any value out of this video, if you enjoy it, and if you want to catch more content about the cannabis industry and you want to learn how you can take advantage to buy and hold for the long run, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. And lastly, if you are Canadian and you've yet to open up your self-directed tax-free savings account, there are two links below to Questrade and Wealthsimple Trade, Canada's top 2 discount brokers. So if you want to go ahead and sign up through there, you get a little bit of free money for doing so, and you can always reach out to me and I can help you navigate the platform and educate you so that you can get started on the right foot. Without further ado, last night I was thrown a bit of a curveball when there was a rumor that Aphria and Tilray might combine, and then overnight, look what happened. And Aphria and Tilray combined to create the biggest cannabis company. Now, this is a bit misleading. I'll explain why. But as we can see, this all-stock deal puts together two of the market's best-known names. I wouldn't say best-known, but at least Aphria has been the best in Canada. They've shown that. But they'll create an entity with an equity value of 4.8 billion Canadian dollars. So this would be, once the deal happens, this new company is set and worth that much. 3.8 billion US, and the group's combined 12-month sales of 874 million does surpass that of industry leaders such as Curaleaf and Canopy Growth, which again makes it look like the biggest cannabis company in terms of revenue. But again, you've got to distinguish between all the revenue, because Aphria makes revenue from CC Pharma, their distribution company, revenue from Sweetwater, which they just purchased in November. Then Tilray gets revenue from Manitoba Hemp, or Manitoba, I forget the name, Manitoba Harvest. So again, it's not strictly cannabis, whereas a lot of these companies, especially US MSOs, are making money strictly from cannabis. So that's got to be pointed out. But this new company will keep the Tilray name. That sucks, because Tilray, fortunately, they were a pump and dump, but they've survived and get the benefits of this deal. And Aphria shareholders will own 62% of Tilray stock under terms of the transaction, which was characterized as a reverse acquisition of Tilray. So Ontario-based Aphria will pay a 23% premium to Tilray's December 15th closing price of $7.87. So yesterday they closed at that price, giving Tilray a market cap at about 1.05 billion US dollars. So then you add a 23% premium on top of that, and that would be the market cap that would equal up to the amount up here. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, to buy up Tilray for the assets that they're not taking advantage of and that Aphria could use, this is great for, to get their U.S. domiciled business and then international assets that could go a very long way. Obviously, you know, this gives them more advantage in the European countries as they open up to medical, and the fast-evolving U.S. sector as more states legalize, regardless of what happens to federal legalization. But again, the moment that does happen, having Tilray set in the U.S. is a very big advantage for this company. And so they can sell cannabis products across Canada and be well positioned to pursue growth opportunities as medical marijuana expands outside. And like Tilray's got a Portugal production facility that will allow tariff-free access to the EU. So, you know, it's a deal that combining these two companies does benefit them both. But again, this merger just inflates the price, causes headlines. But it has not set in stone. They've agreed to do it, but if we get into the details here, the firm says the tie-up, which needs shareholder approval from Tilray, will reduce annual costs by about $100 million before taxes within 2 years of completion. And of course, Tilray shareholders would want that. Any Tilray shareholder should be floored about this deal. And this agreement, which is expected to close the second quarter of 2021, so again, lots of time, includes the right to match higher bids and reciprocal termination fee of $65 million under certain circumstances. So they can terminate the agreement. It's not set in stone, but they have agreed to merge at some point in time. And again, so different benefits that Aphria will get: reach an international medical cannabis. They've also got a partnership. Where did I see that? I might have missed that up here. Partnership. Tilray's got the partnership with Anheuser-Busch. Tilray's also got Manitoba Harvest, so that gets Aphria, into branded hemp, CBD products, beverages with Sweetwater as well. Lots of good stuff here, but as the European market is set to grow to 359 million by 2020, up quite a bit. Widespread use in the US is expected to hit 24 billion by next year. These numbers are growing very quickly, so this is good to see. But again, it just reminds me, it takes me back to 2018 when all these headlines of mergers and acquisitions were coming, and I thought that was a good thing, and I didn't know anything about investing. So it was a huge learning curve, and it is important to be wary of these sort of mergers and acquisitions if you're not aware of what you're investing in. I'll get to that point next with Aurora, but this does remind me a few things, is that always, if you're up a significant amount and you do get fortunate on an investment, take some profits, because that's what I'm going to be doing. I will keep 2,000 of my Aphria shares that will convert into Tilray, but I'm going to be using 1,000 shares of that to buy more into the United States, U.S. multi-state operators, just because I will see more growth coming from that sooner than later, and I will just I'll leave those other 2,000 shares there to just convert and grow over time. Second thing, though, is I own Aphria shares on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Now, I don't necessarily know what will happen to these shares if the deal does go through, because Tilray trades on the NASDAQ in the US only. They do not trade on the US exchange, similar to Aphria, who's on the TSX in Canada, and then on the NASDAQ in the US. So if you happen to know what would happen to the TSX Aphria shares, when they would convert, please let me know, because I'd be curious as to what happens to them, and I imagine a lot of other Canadian holders are curious too. So if you do know, please make sure you leave that in the comments. But why you want to be wary of these companies announcing big, ambitious goals and mergers, but not actually seeing any money out of it or not seeing it come to fruition, is again, Aurora laying off 200 more employees. And this comes just weeks after they indefinitely closed their big project in Medicine Hat. So this is, again, folks, the example of what happens a lot and what you need to be careful of investing, especially if you don't know what you're investing in, why it's so important to know what you're investing in and not to just rush into something because you want to own it. Because ultimately what this has just turned out is just direct real estate losses worth millions of dollars and write-downs of billions. And this is unfortunately just investor money that these CEOs get incentives to try and build as much as possible in a certain time period. They get paid for that, but unfortunately what happens when those plans don't pan out, investors suffer from it. So it's only operating 25% of its entire potential capacity, and it's just not a good sign, because obviously when their ambitions were to grow 700,000 kilograms of cannabis, now they can't even keep a few facilities afloat. It's an important sign to know what you're investing in, never jump into anything just because. And also, this reminds me too, is this deal won't even pan out until the summer. We've got time, folks. So just keep looking, keep coming to watch my videos, but keep paying attention. And I do see, obviously what happens in January is going to be a big factor, but we can be optimistic, and let me just run through these next two and let me remind you. So legislative leaders in New Jersey have come to an agreement on the bill. This was actually last week's article, but they're expected to vote on it tomorrow, which is good. And the compromise includes up to 37 cultivation licenses, which will be issued during the first 2 years of the program. And the exception is micro licenses to businesses with 10 or less employees. But 70% of sales tax, as well as revenue, from a grower will be committed to programs adding back to communities and individuals disproportionately affected by the war on drugs. And I do support this, some sort of program that will help reinvestment go back into those communities, especially nonviolent offenders that have spent time in jail, just destroying families. They are the ones that need it the most. So this is good that they will offer mentoring, legal aid, and healthcare. And of course, after November 3rd, this was a big thing, and I'm grateful to see them acting fast. And this site is projecting cannabis sales for the state to reach $950 million by 2024. So that would obviously anticipate that New Jersey might be starting hopefully soon into the new year. They do not specify which day though. But of course, again, once New Jersey starts, we see New York and Pennsylvania likely to follow. But good news is it's expected to vote tomorrow, which is great, so I'll update that on Sunday. But main thing is to pass this before January 1, allow the amendment to take effect, and then that way they can actually start the process of onboarding, getting businesses open, regulatory stuff needed. So this is great to hear out of New Jersey, and also to hear out of Arizona. They are doing the same thing. But unfortunately, this is why I want to just remind you that it's important to think long-term and not get too excited, because if the Senate doesn't flip, I think we would just see a lot less hype and people buying in for the sake of just buying in, because just when I see this here as well, sales of the drug could begin in the spring. I wish they would say sales of the plant would begin in the spring. They still don't get it. Anyways, they are talking though about Arizona health officials have begun writing the rules for cannabis retailers. But again, the keyword could is could. It could easily get delayed as well. So the election results were great, and it's good that these have made it official that adults can legally possess cannabis in their own home, which is great now. But of course, they've got to set the regulations for shops and how people will go about accessing this legally. So the public can weigh in, but it seems like the applications will begin in January, and the time frame is from January 19th to March 9th. So most of the licenses to sell recreational cannabis will go to the approximately 120 existing medical cannabis shops in Arizona, which, as an investor in Harvest Health and Recreation, I love that because they've got a nice foothold in there. But there will be 12 new recreational sales, only licenses available into the rural counties as well. But it's nice to see, of course, CEO Steve White of Harvest commenting on that. My confidence levels has been high that they'll meet this deadline. But again, folks, this is a deadline. So I just want to point out that This might not happen as quick as we wish. We hope it would, but regardless, the industry and cannabis sales are going to keep growing. The law change is going to happen at some point or another. We can't control that, but that's why it's important to just be diligent, but keep paying attention and watch the companies that you want to get in on. But no more than 60 days after receiving applications, the department shall issue licenses to those applicants that are in good standing with the department. So I almost going to say, in a way, say expect delays, but let's hope for the best. And if it doesn't get delayed, that's great. But another thing, just to point out that a proposition calls for 26 additional social equity licenses to be distributed. I like that, 26 on top of the other ones, because again, these communities disenfranchised by the historical cannabis prohibition, they're the ones that need this opportunity the most as well. So I'm very happy to see that, that both of the states that passed cannabis laws are not delaying. They are in a hurry to get these laws panned out or written up and sorted out, which is great. And so lastly, just a reminder that no candidate, well, this is from November 3rd, the election, no candidate in either Georgia Senate races won a majority vote on the 3rd. Therefore, it triggers a runoff for both seats with the top two candidates in each race facing off. So the control of the Senate now hinges on the outcomes of these two races. If both Democrats win on January 5th, then the Senate will swing blue, and there's a good chance legalization will happen in 2021 at some point. If one of the Democrats do not win, then the Senate will remain red and we could see delays for longer. But again, many good factors like the new Senate banking chair being Pat Toomey, a Republican of Pennsylvania, who does agree with allowing bank access to these companies. So regardless, the industry is in great shape, better than ever. We just are really hoping for good results here and, more potential beneficial awareness and law changes for the plant. But please let me know, what do you think about the deal, the Tilray and Aphria merger? Let me know in the comments. And if you do happen to know what would happen to TSX shares, moving to Tilray when Tilray is only on the US exchange and not in Canada, please let me know as well. I'm sure many people would want to know that. But let's leave your comments. Let's start a discussion, and hopefully we can all capitalize on this generational investing opportunity. But I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe if you got some value out of this, and I'll see you on Sunday for the next episode of This Week in Cannabis. Have a great day, everybody.